Hey guys, hope you're having a good weekend. I just wanted to touch base with you guys. I promised that on Sunday I would put up a video here just reminding you exactly how to do these problems that we were working on in class, since I know we didn't get to do a lot of examples. So I'm going to walk through this question. This is one of the questions in the 30s on that worksheet. So it's not one of the ones you actually have to do, but maybe it'll help you remember the process that we have to go through when we are trying to factor these questions that have a number in the front, like this 3 right here, but a GCF isn't in the problem. So I'm certainly going to want to look again for a GCF to try to get rid of that 3. And I'm going to see that there isn't one here because that 3 will not go into this 14 or this -5. And so I'm going to have to go the long way through this question. Step 1 in that long way is to multiply the first number times the last number. In this case, 3 times -5, which is going to give me -15. And then I got to look at my factors of -15. And my options are going to be some combination of 3 and 5. Obviously, one of them will have to be negative, so some combination of 3 and 5. But no matter which one I make negative, at most, they're going to add up to -3 plus 5 is 2. So it doesn't help me out with this 14 that's right here. My other option is some combination of 15 and 1. And because I'm trying to add up to a positive 14, I'm going to choose a -1 because a 15 and a -1 would add up to 14. We're then going to rewrite this question. So I'm going to come over here on the side. I'm going to rewrite. We got 3x to the second power plus 14x minus 5. And we're going to split this 14x into that 15, so a 15x, and a minus 1x. And those two numbers right there are going to come from our t-chart. Okay, we'll go ahead and bring everything else down. Down comes that minus 5, and down comes this 3x squared. And we now have turned something that had 3 terms into something, so here's 1, 2, 3 terms, into something that has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. The next step, if you recall, is to group. So I'm going to group the first two things together. I'm going to group the second two things together. So I'm going to look for the GCF in the first two. And the GCF in this case, both of these things are divisible by 3, and they're both divisible by x. So I'm going to get a 3x as my GCF. And when I factor that 3x out of this 3x squared, the only thing that will be left if I take away the 3 and an x is the other x. And if I take a 3 and an x out of this 15x, all that will be left behind will be a plus 5. And if we think about redistributing this, 3x times x would give me a 3x squared, and 3x times 5 would give me 15x. So I know that I've been doing that I've done that step correctly. Looking at the next two terms here, all they have in common is a 1, but because they're both negative, it's going to make more sense for us to factor out a minus 1. And if I take the minus 1 out of this, it's going to leave me an x. And if I take the minus 1 out of a minus 5, it's going to leave me a plus 5. And again, I'll double check myself by distributing. -1 to x would be -1x, and -1 to 5 would be -5. Now that I've done this correctly, what I notice is that this thing right here and this thing right here are exactly the same. Both of these parts have an x plus 5 in it. So I'm going to start in my final answer writing that x plus 5, the thing that they have in common. And then I'm going to write the things that they have different. So I'm going to write the 3x and the minus 1. 3x minus 1. And I apologize in advance. Well, I guess not in advance at this point, but I apologize for the handwriting. I'm trying to do this with a mouse, and as you can see, it's a little bit sloppy, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of a refresher on what those 3 steps look like in order to factor something with a term, a leading number other than a 1. Just to recap, the first step was to split into 4 terms. The second step was to group factor. And the final step is to write my answer here based on what they have in common. Hopefully that was enough to help you out. And you can use that example to get through the homework for this weekend. And we will certainly be talking more about this on Tuesday when we get back. All right, have a great weekend. Bye.